to our third and final public budget meeting. I am Andrea Vu. I'm the chair of the Finance Committee, and I applaud you all for coming early on a Saturday morning, especially after the night that some of us had with being interrupted by, well, I was interrupted because I was already in bed, by tornado sirens and bagpipers. So thank you all for being here. Before we begin, I just want to, and I probably should have done this on our first meeting, but just want to explain a little bit about the public budget process. As you all know, as I hope you know, we adopt a citywide business plan each year. And that really kind of starts the cycle of the budget. And really the process begins a little bit before that as our finance team works year-round in developing the budget. In fact, we will adopt this budget at the end of March, and it'll take about a day off, and then they will start the process all over again. But they work with the departments, and they prepare a budget. But what you may have heard this year around August and September, the revenue projections and our revenue expenses were a little bit out of balance. And so they worked for several months to try to bring that balance back into not so big of a deficit, and Britton will talk about that a little bit later, and then presented the council with the current budget that we had. And I stopped bringing my budget book because it got a little too heavy to carry everywhere. But the budget that is presented to us each year, and that was presented to us this year, is the staff and the city manager's representation of how we could bring, especially this year's budget, a little more in line and not face a $100 million deficit or hit to our general fund. I know a lot of you are here and expressed in the first two budget meetings concerns about some of the cuts. That was not necessarily this council saying to the staff, we want to cut certain areas. But that was the staff saying, here's some areas that we suggest being cut because otherwise we will have a $100 million hit to our general fund. As I've said in the first two budget meetings, this is our process of saying, how do we balance that back out with our priorities, the citywide business plan priorities, and the priorities of the general public through this process. And as, let's see, this is some of our 7th public budget meetings. And in each of those public budget meetings, we have heard from you, and we have made changes in the budget to reflect the comments that we've heard from you, as well as a lot of times those match with the changes that we as a council want to make. We've already had discussions about some of those changes that we are intending to make because we have a deadline of March 12th to submit budget amendments. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that process because we understand we may not agree 100%. We don't agree 100%. That's not a may. We don't necessarily agree 100% with the budget that's presented to us. And it is a draft budget until we adopt it on the 4th Thursday in March. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that process to understand that, these 3 public budget meetings are not just an exercise in futility. They are actually a process by which we do listen to the testimony. So I want to thank you again for being here. And also I just want to give a plug for April 7th. We will go to the polls for an election on the earnings tax. And that is, that along with the sales tax and property tax make up over 50% of our revenue. And without the earnings tax, that will create a significant hole in our revenue And as I said last time, that will make a very cranky finance chair as this council is forced to find a revenue source, which we really don't have authorization from the state to find to replace that. So I would encourage you all to exercise your right and privilege to vote on April 7th. Finally, you may wonder, why and how we pick places to hold these meetings. It is our attempt to each year to find locations in half of the council districts. So hopefully by the time that my term as finance chair ends, we will have hit each council district twice. And so we try to pick locations so that the citizens of Kansas City will have access to the public budget meetings. I think I said finally, but I'm going to say finally again. I just want to thank our staff for being here each of the meetings. I'm going to ask them, first of all, and not last, as I did last on Monday night, to stand up, if you will. They're all in the back. If you'll stand up, staff, for being here. But I'm going to call out one person in particular, and that's my legislative aide, Katrina Foster. I show up a few minutes before, but she is here and has done a phenomenal job of making sure we have places, we have water, we are ready to go on the dot, even though we don't start on the dot. So I just want to thank Katrina and Story Downing. She's been a great help. She is shared by Councilman Duncan and I, and John Zantner, who is also Councilman Duncan's legislative assistant. And with that, I am going to have my colleagues introduce themselves. Let's start on the end there with Councilman Duncan.
Can you hear me? All right. Grand Rising beloveds. You could be anywhere and you're here. You can be watching cartoons, but you're going to watch us and listen to your neighbors. I will say, I was talking last night, we live in a really special city, filled with a lot of people who really care. The last budget meeting went over 2 hours. It was after 8 p.m. and Guadalupe Center was nearly completely still full with all of you listening to each other and what you had to say about this budget. I think that's really special. I don't know if that happens elsewhere, but I'm pretty happy that it happens here. So thank you for being here.
Hi, I'm Melissa Patterson-Hasley, the councilwoman from the 3rd District at large. I echo what my colleague has to say, but I want to add that Grand Rising, he told me to say it. I want you to know that we do listen to all of the feedback that we get from you. So we thank you for being candid. We thank you for being passionate and sharing your ideas. And we look forward to knowing what you want to see out of the budget. It really helps us make our decisions. So thank you again for being here.
Good morning, Nathan Willett. I represent the 1st District, which is Platte and Clay County. I want to thank everyone for being here, especially staff from our council aides, especially budget chairs, Katrina Foster. Thank you for all the work that you've done in organizing this, and this has been laid out in a great way. Last year we had a budget meeting in my council district, but this is a fantastic facility. Thank you to North Kansas City Schools. I know I've seen a couple school board members here this morning. Thank you very much. Thank you to the staff who opened it up and keep this facility clean. But excited to listen to your all's feedback on the budget. Budget is a reflection of the priorities of our city. Obviously, we do have limited resources, but hope to be able to address certain concerns.
Wes Rogers, 2nd District in District, which means you are in my district right now. So thank you for coming to Winnetonka High School to be here with us up north today. I agree with everybody else. It's so great to see a full room. And if you're having so much fun sticking around for this budget hearing, at 1 o'clock, Winnetonka and Lincoln Prep are playing for the district title in basketball.
Good morning, everybody. I am a 5th District Councilwoman and Kansas City Mayor Pro Tem Raina Park Shaw, and it has been my honor to serve, and this is my 7th year overseeing hearing your comments and being a part of our budget. I do want to say Councilman Darrell Curls is not here today, but he will review the comments later. He had a previously planned trip out of town, so I just want to let everybody know that it is still a priority for both council members of the 5th District. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what you have to say as this budget is a budget for the people of Kansas City as we work to make sure that your priorities are uplifted in this budget season. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Lindsay French, 2nd District at large, so yes, you were in. Yes, Lindsay French, 2nd District at large, so as stated, you are in the 2nd District right now, so you are in my district. I'm also a proud grad of Winnetonka High School, so you're in my, I'm an alum of this high school, so you're in my high school right now, so it's really great to be back. As stated earlier, you guys could be anywhere else on your early Saturday morning and you're here participating in your local government and the city budget. And this budget really is your budget. These are your tax dollars that's being spent, and we are here to listen to your opinions, and what you say really matters, because as been stated before, when you guys give all your public testimony and we really sit here and listen and we really look over everything, and it really affects how we make changes in the budget. So I really appreciate you guys being here, and I'm really excited to hear what you say.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mario Vasquez. I am the city manager of Kansas City. First of all, I want to thank you all for being here today. Also want to emphasize what Councilmember Booth has said about the budget process. What we prepare and submit to the council in February is a proposal that then is again informed with your feedback. Our department heads have provided, each of them has made a presentation about their own respective budgets. And ultimately, there will be amendments to what has been proposed, and what the council will vote on March 27th will be what will be our work plan for the next year. So your feedback and participation is important. I really appreciate you all being here. And I also want to thank my staff for being here and the work that they have done to get us to this point. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I believe this, not only is this Councilwoman French's alma mater, she has also recently been inducted into the Hall of Fame. So I will now turn it over to Brenton Sibley. This is his first year as the Deputy Director of Finance. Oh, you need the microphone. So Brenton, and you can see the budget presentation on the wall to your right, my left.
Hopefully it doesn't move. There. Can you hear me?
Yep.
So I'll be providing a brief overview of the fiscal year 2027 budget. As part of this overview, just hitting on major revenue sources, the appropriations within the fiscal year 2027 budget, some of the key investments included in this year's budget, and then an overview of the budget document itself, some of the pages online that are available for review, and just a brief presentation on how to read those pages. Before I get too far into the budget document, I do want to talk through some of the key terms of how we kind of slice the funding within the budget. When I talk about all funds, that's everything within the entire budget document. Including governmental activities, which is a reflection of the taxes and fees paid by residents to support kind of general government operations such as police and refuse collection, and then that's within the governmental activities. And then the general fund would be the largest fund source within the city's budget. It reflects earnings tax, use tax, and some property tax collections. The submitted fiscal year 27 budget totals $2.5 billion. That includes more than $800 million of business type activities. So those are the funds that support the city's airports and water and sewer operations. And then $1.7 billion of special revenue funds, or governmental activity funds. That includes includes $591.6 million of special revenue. That includes items like public safety sales tax, tax that collects to support public safety, a fire sales tax, park sales tax. The general fund, as I mentioned earlier, is the largest single fund source, totaling $844 million. Debt funds used to support payment of city's debt obligations, and then capital funds used for capital expenditures, including in the summer there's PIAC hearings to publicly identify capital projects. The funds for those projects are out of the capital funds. Looking at the submitted budget by appropriation type, again, broken down by those governmental activities and business type activities. On the governmental activities side, totaling $1.7 billion. Personnel costs make up the largest share of expenses. So those are salaries, wages, and health care of city employees. On the business type activities, are those expenses to support water and aviation. Primary expense is contractual services. Kind of taking that next step down and looking at the revenue sources within governmental activities. As Chair Boone mentioned earlier, the earnings tax makes up almost a quarter of total revenues for governmental activities, followed by sales tax, property taxes, and local use tax. The city's budget and expenditures are arranged in a goal area. These goals are set by city council when they start their terms in office. There's 5 goals within the city budget and the citywide business plan. The largest portion of the budget is allocated towards public safety, totaling $733.9 million, followed by infrastructure and accessibility, totaling $347.5 million. And then you receive the remaining 3 goals there: health, housing and healthy communities, inclusive growth and development, and finance and governance. This slide provides a breakdown of those goal areas by department. So within the public safety goal area, the police department is the largest funded department within the city budget, followed by the fire department. And when you look at infrastructure and accessibility, the public works department, which supports our trash collection, street resurfacing, it is the largest non-public safety department funded in this year's budget. Taking that next step down and looking at the general fund. So general fund revenues total $833.3 million. Again, the largest source of revenue within the general fund is the earnings tax, making up 44.4% of total revenues, followed by the local use tax and utility taxes, both around 13% of revenues each. On the expense side again, for the general fund, total expenditures total $844.3 million. Public safety makes up almost 3/4 of that, totaling 75.3% of total general fund expenses. Getting into the key investments within this year's budget. So within the finance and governance goal area, we are implementing a new software to help the city's financial functions operate more efficiently. And this year we'll be issuing debt obligations to help with the implementation of that new software. Within the housing and healthy communities goal area, a total of $12.5 million in GEO bonds will be used to invest in the housing trust fund. This was a voter-approved bond issuance several years ago, and this will be the last year of those investments from that GEO bond. Continuing with the housing and healthy communities, $3.9 million to support animal control operations within the Department of Neighborhoods. Previously, this process was contracted out. By bringing that in-house, we're expecting to save about $2 million from contracts. Additionally, this budget reflects $250,000 to continue providing free trees for residents. This was initially started 3 years ago through the Canopy Covered Casey initiative, and this funding will continue this for a 4th year. Within the inclusive growth and development goal area, $5 million to support capital improvements in the T-Mobile Center, including security system replacements and AV and IT equipment upgrades. Within infrastructure and accessibility, $5.7 million to continue funding snow removal at the same amount as last year. $77.8 million to fund the KCATA. This is maintaining the same amount of funding as within the adopted fiscal year 2026 budget. In public safety, a total of $363 million to support the police department. That includes $4.2 million for additional staff, including 50 new officers, 10 call takers, and 10 dispatchers. As well as there's another $336 million for the fire department. Also within the public safety goal area, a total of $26.3 million to stand up the new Department of Community Safety. This department will be responsible for the operations of the new Front Street facility. Most of this is staff for the operations of that facility. Within debt service, there's $5.2 million to continue funding, to support funding of voter-approved GEO bond projects, as well as debt service payments to support the Barney Ellis Garage construction. A total of $30.9 million for street resurfacing. This is sufficient to fund 300 lane miles throughout the city. And then getting into the budget document itself. This page just provides an overview of the key components of the budget document. If you read nothing else online, it's available online at kcmo.gov/budget. If there's nothing else online that you read, I highly encourage you to read the transmittal letter. It's the beginning of the budget document. It provides more description of everything that I just provided a summary of. Also within that document is program and activity pages. This provides detail on how the city spends its money on a programmatic basis. And then the fund schedules in the back provide a summary of each fund source within the city budget, reflecting the revenues and expenditures by fund type. So how to read a program page. As I mentioned earlier, the program pages provide detail by program of how the city spends its money within each department. At the top of each page is a description of the program itself, the PBB quartiles. So as part of this year's budget, the city implemented priority-based budgeting, which is a scoring process to identify how each program is aligned with each of those goals and objectives within the citywide business plan. You'll also see objectives and performance indicators, as well as major program accomplishments that occurred over the previous year. At the end of each program page, there's detailed tables outlining expenditures by fund, appropriation, and sub-program, as well as a bolded list of changes that have occurred as part of the submitted budget for each program. And then at the back, these are actually probably my favorite, most referenced pages within the budget document, is the fund schedules. It provides a summary of the beginning balance, revenues, expenses, and as well as a detail of each revenue type and expenditures by appropriation type. And this is, as mentioned earlier, this is the final public budget hearing, and that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Brendan. Now is the opportunity to hear from you. What I will do is I have a list of people who've signed up to speak. I will call 3 names at a time. If you will come down to the microphone right here in the center of the stage. We have about 30 signed up, and I was going to say, if you've spoken before, if you would defer and let people who haven't had the opportunity, but it appears that I don't have many or any repeats, so I think we're good on that. So we will get started. Also, I wanted to mention, before I forget, if you are here and don't want to speak and give public testimony, there is also a way to send an email that will get to our budget office, get to us with your testimony. That is budget@kcmo.org. Again, that's budget@kcmo.org. So we will begin, and please speak slowly, clearly, because we do have interpreters here. I know that you will be given 2 minutes, and again, I know 2 minutes is not a a long time. But if you don't get all your testimony in, you can submit it again to that email address. So we will begin with our first three names: Andrea Ragland, Barb Riggs, and Mark McHenry. And Andrea, sorry if it's Andrea, but I'm Andrea, so I'm just going to default to the.
Yes, Andrea.
Okay, good. That's the right way to pronounce it.
Good morning. My name is Andrea Ragland. I work for Nathan ATA, like I heard. And I've been there 14 years. What's going on with the bus company right now is pretty devastating. Just kind of had a question to why was the buses free for so long? I can understand, maybe for a little back route, but why so long? And because the bus was we make our own revenue, a lot of it. And so we're talking about money today, we're talking about the budget. Why are the buses still free? I know it's supposed to go back in June, but I didn't understand. I just had that question. We're talking about getting rid of more routes. Everybody needs public transportation. Somebody needs public transportation.
Ms. Riggs?
I just want to piggyback off of that. I am a KCATA employee, 30 years, okay? And this is something I've never seen. We didn't have the scare tactics before of being made, budget cuts, route cuts, and all, but this is just ridiculous. It's back to back. We just, we had another class that was supposed to start this week, and they had to cancel that because they're looking at layoffs, cutting routes and all, and we already are getting enough information back to it. The people that work, like at the airport, they work early mornings and they can't even get there to do their job. So they're gonna end up being probably fired. And to catch an Uber or Lyft there, it defeats the purpose. Because it's gonna run them about $30 or more just to get there, And like I said, we do need help with more funding because with bringing the fare back, it's gonna cost to get fare boxes and to get the programs reestablished that they had previously for the homeless, the handicapped, the elderly, and all of that. And they gotta figure it out. They gotta figure it out.
Good morning. Committee Chair Boone, members of the council, Mark McHenry, here today for the City Fountains Foundation. The City Fountains Foundation was established in 1973. It's a 15-member board. Its mission purpose is to support, advocate, and advance fountains in the city of Kansas City, Missouri. A lot of the maintenance of the park system is over the fountain for the years. There's been a lot of band-aids and temporary fixes. We did a fountain assessment commissioned by the City Fountains Foundation. We've got a $20+ million backlog of fountains in the city right now to be repaired unto them. We hope there should be more money in the budget to support that. I'll give you a couple examples of how that's happened in the past. In 2017 bond issue, there was money made available for the Spirit of Freedom Fountain down there at Cleveland and Brush Creek, and the Half Circle Fountain at Meyer and School Parkway. That funds were provided for those two fountains. The foundation was able to fund it from private sources and double the money. Both fountains have been now fully restored. One current example, in district number 6, there's some funding made available, the PIAC funds for the Myers Circle fountain. Hopefully that makes it from the submitted to the adopted budget. If so, we have donors lined up to take care of that particular fountain. Fountain Day this year is on the 15th of April, 2 o'clock in Lewis Park. That fountain's been restored. 75% of the funding for that came from the private side, 25% came from the public side. So the best way to do this is to match up the public and private dollars to make sure that does take place. So hopefully money in the budget. I have a suggestion of how to fund the fountains, at least part of the funding, without affecting the bottom line. We did the GeoBond program. We had $600,000 for roads and bridges, $150,000 for flood control, $50,000 for buildings at that time. Within your district one, your district questions, you had public art. I believe it was question 1 had public art, and also question 2 had some public art. You add those two together, you come up with $1.9 million. That would not affect your bottom line, and that can be used for fountains. So that's a suggestion of how you provide some funding for the fountains.
All right, thank you. Susan Schultz-Marks, Sam Baptiste, and Claudia Toon. Okay, before you begin, 1 second. Is our timer going? Okay, go right ahead.
Hi, my name is Susie Schultz-Marks, and I am the new Head Start Director for Maddie Rosalie Learning Center. We are the only Head Start program in Clay and Platte County. We will be able to serve 166 children. Head Start is a free federally funded program that provides early education, comprehensive services in health and nutrition and parent involvement. And want to let you guys know that we're here in the Northland. And the things that our families are struggling with are a lot of the same things that are being talked about. Transportation is a big issue for our families. If our families can't get to us, then we're not able to serve the people that need us the most. Also, domestic violence prevention is also needed. A lot of families have experienced domestic violence, and we want to make sure that we can help with those services. That's what I wanted to say, the transportation services, and as well as domestic violence, and more youth programs for children as well. Thank you.
So to summarize, I'm going to talk about streets, trash, city planning, housing, and taxes.
What's your name?
Oh, I'm Claudia Tuman. I probably won't get through with all of that, so I've got it typed up for you. First of all, please stop breaking up the streets into bike and car lanes because nobody uses the bike lane. Reclaiming my time.
All right, keep going.
Okay, so remove the barriers between the car lanes and the bike lanes in the streets. They're going to be a problem with snow removal, and they'll be torn up by the snow removal vehicles, and I'll go on. Okay, then we can fix the sidewalks so that bicycles and wheelchairs can ride on them. We can fix the potholes in the street. Particularly, I've noticed that I travel Highway 71 in Linwood, that intersection, there's a major pothole problem. I'm afraid the bridge is going to collapse at some point. East 27th Street in Brighton, the water main break has been there since October of 2025. It has still not been fixed. Clean up the trash on the streets and in vacant lots. Take out the speed bumps. Take out the street bum outs. They're really just deadly mosquito incubators. remove all markings that prohibit driving and parking on the streets that didn't used to be there. Just please return it back, the streets back to what they were 20 years ago. I've been trying to fight this problem of all these speed bumps.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just want to remind everyone might not agree with testimony, but let's keep it respectful. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Sam Baptiste, and I am a therapist with one of our domestic violence agencies here in the Kansas City area. And so I felt it was imperative that I contact you guys and speak today regarding the proposed funding cuts. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in a home where domestic violence was a daily occurrence and a normal part of my childhood. My mother, brother, and I were abused every single day, and domestic violence centers back in the day just didn't exist. And so my mother was left in a position where she could not escape. So, as it normally goes, witnessing violence as a child, you end up in a domestic violence relationship as an adult. And my children were also learning that domestic violence was a normal part of having a family. And so when I left my abusive relationship, I focused on getting my education, and I spent 8 years in school to become a domestic violence therapist so that I could work in my community and help other survivors like myself. The proposed funding cuts to the Domestic Violence Services Fund have already been causing issues within our agencies. More funding cuts will result in more jobs lost, less resources for survivors, and more women and children going back into dangerous situations. 1 out of 3 women experience violence throughout their lives. And look at all the women in this room today. 1 in 3 of us have experienced domestic violence. I'm asking that no further cuts be done in regards to the services that we provide. I am a survivor helping survivors. We are survivors helping survivors. Domestic violence is a community problem. It's a state problem. It is a national problem. So I stand here today and I plead, please don't take any further funds from us. Thank you.
Hillary Green. And the other 2 names that I called, come on down until you're ready to testify.
Hi, good morning. My name is Hillary Green, and I live in Kansas City's 5th District, where my husband and I own a home and vote in every election. I do not like public speaking. I like to play music. But I'm here to ask you to fully fund Arts KC. I play second violin and serve as board secretary for the Social Symphony of Kansas City. SSKC's mission is to provide accessible and inclusive orchestra to the KC metro area. To that end, we put on 2 free-to-attend concerts each year. Member dues are only $10 a month, and we do not require audition. This is possible in part because of Arts KC's funding and generous grants to the Kansas City art community. I think you all know how the city and its residents benefit from the arts, and especially music. Investing in music makes safer and more engaged communities. It brings joy to listeners and players alike. Arts KC is doing tremendous good for this city through hard work, and it is an embarrassment that this council treats it as disposable. Your citizens should not have to beg you to fund something so foundational to this city's identity. For that matter, they shouldn't have to beg for public transportation funding either. Kansas City values art. As our representatives, it is your responsibility to honor that commitment and fully fund Arts KC. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Hillary Holt, Kansas City native and founder for Black Comedy Fest Kansas City, October 7th through the 11th. I'm also here to encourage not cutting the budget for Arts KC. I myself have been a performer in the arts and entertainment of Kansas City for over 14 years. What I have seen from Arts KC as well is my friends being able to bring their visions to life. They've created, their lives have changed. Dreams have been made. And I just know that what the art creates is confidence in people who need it, especially in our children. It creates community and communication, it creates empathy and compassion, and most importantly, it creates critical thinking that everyone needs right now. And I can see for the arts, for myself as a creator, especially someone who creates opportunities to bring people together, to create inclusion and to create development for a variety of ways. What I can see for the arts in general for Kansas City is that it creates a future with storytellers and creatives. It can reduce harm and it reduces crime, which then increases more funding that we can do for the arts and for things that we need instead of increasing policing. There is a renaissance I know is coming to Kansas City with the arts, and we cannot let it die with this cut. Thank you.
All right, I usually don't do this, but your testimony was so moving. I just want to say we're working on restoring that. So Jamie Wright, are you here? Oh, come on down. Sorry. Oh, yeah. Kaylee Ford and Peyton Wells, you all can come on as well.
My name is Jamie. I also work for 2 DV shelters here locally. One as a victim advocate, the other one as a guardian for supervised visitations for the abusers and their children. So I'm speaking on the budget cuts for the Neighborhood Service and Violence Prevention Fund and the DVSS. Nearly 7,400 hotline calls will go unanswered. Nearly 2,000 victims will be denied safe shelter. Nearly 26,000 beds will be lost. Hospital and emergency response, ER advocates respond to what we call cold silver and trauma calls. Without them, battered and bruised victims who have been strangled, beaten to the end of their life will go back to their abusers. Lethality, victims of strangulation are 750 times more likely to be killed. Advocates are trained to spot these invisible signs that medical teams may miss. The wait times are overloading ERs with preventable trauma increases and wait times for all citizens. Law enforcement and public safety, officer risk, domestic violence calls are the leading cause of officer fatalities and injuries. KCPD handles a DV report of every 87 minutes. Advocacy reduces, so I want to explain a little bit further on those calls. Every 87 minutes, a DV call comes through. And those are the only ones that are reported. That's not for the ones that go unreported. KCPD, so the advocacy reduces repeat 911 calls by helping survivors.
If you'll finish it, please.
Okay. I'm also going to add for every dollar that there's an advocate, it reduces funds for our police department and the court costs for advocates to help these survivors. We do not want any more further deaths.
Thank you.
Morning, City Council.
enjoying time with friends, visiting my family further out in the metro or also in the city. It is truly my place I call home, and I can't wait to start my own family here and live here for the rest of my life. But it can feel very hard to feel connected to this community when I am literally unable to be connected. I live over in Maple Park, which is just down the road through some of those neighborhoods, 5 minutes from this high school, and I have no bus stop access at all. There is none in my neighborhood or around my neighborhood on the immediate outskirts. The closest one that I know of is down Vivian Road near Norfolk Tractorway, near the neighborhood Walmart. And if I wanted to get there, I would have to walk there if I wanted to defeat the purpose of using a car. I would have to walk on roads that are unsafe, through pedestrian crossings that have no pedestrian safety infrastructure, no crosswalks, nothing to protect me from speeding cars right off the highway on 35. And I have to walk through neighborhoods where sidewalks end, where there are no sidewalks. I want to ride the bus, but I have no choice but to have a car and spend my own money to do so. And yet the City Council does not view that as the most important thing to fund our buses. They want to fund the World Cup. They want to make this place world class for people outside of this country, for the wealthy elite and billionaires who will visit us in June and spend their money elsewhere. Why would you bend over backwards to provide transit for them, but you drag your feet for us? On my council members, Lindsay French, Wes Rogers, and everyone here, including the mayor who is not here. Fund our buses fully. Do your jobs.
Hello, my name is Peyton Wells. I am a colleague of Sam Baptiste and Jamie Wright, who has spoken with you already about the DB cuts. I am here to tell you a little bit about myself and my job. I moved here in July of 2025 from the state of Arkansas, and I came here to Missouri with a dream to help those in need with my job. I am a child therapist at a domestic violence shelter, and all of the proposed cuts that I've been talking to you by our population is affecting my job, and as well as my clients. My clients are those who are almost forgotten when we talk about domestic violence. We always talk about the batterers, and we always talk about the survivors. But who we forget are the children who are also in those situations. 9 times out of 10, when we have a mother that comes into shelter, they bring along with them minors. And including of them are usually 2 to 3 of them at a time. We only have limited bed space in our shelter, and most times, some of the moms can't even bring their kids because we do not have enough space. My job is to help them be seen and to be heard, and to make sure they're being taken care of. Because 9 times out of 10, they've also experienced abuse by that abuser. And these proposed cuts affect them entirely. Having safe busing systems allow them to get to school. It also helps them get to sporting events that they're trying to obtain to one day go to college, because they will not have the funds to do that on their own. Cuts to the art room, cuts into our youth recreational center that gives them a safe program to go to in the evening times, to be able to have a safe place to enjoy and connect with friends, and to enjoy other activities outside of just surviving for the day. And DB cuts will cut funding for them to be able to have a safe place to go to. So though it does not just affect my job, it affects the people that I am allowed to help every day. And so I would just like you guys to take the time to consider the kids who are being affected by these choices. Thank you.
Cassandra Kislin and Haley with Sunrise. It starts with an S. I'm sorry. Is it? Yes, that's what it is.
Hello, my name is Ian, and I for one support the bike lanes because I'm trying not to die every time I get out. Which I nearly have every day that I've gone to work until the streetcar opened. It is always the buses that faces the cuts. It's not the police department, which has a long history of police brutality. It is a fact that 30% of downtown Kansas City is still a parking lot, and is still the only place tax revenue comes from. 148 feet of road is added on average per additional resident in this city, but it's the buses that are costing these things. Buses are the most cost-effective way to get people from point A to point B. The car-related infrastructure is what's destroying us. Yet we have not revised 70% of the entire zoning map, which is currently R1 zoning, which is the most costly form of zoning that we can. I'm sorry. It has been proven since as early as 1960 in Jane Jacobs' work that our development will never return revenue, but it's the buses that keep getting cut. Here's another fact, it's called the Don-Stonson paradox. Every time you cut the buses, you reduce ridership on each bus, which then shows us proof for further cuts to the bus system. It's an induced demand problem. If you added more buses and gave them the same level of priority as the streetcar, there would be less drivers and you would save money on the maintenance. We're going to destroy next year's budget and the one after that if we continually cut transit like this. It is the only form of transportation that this city can afford, not the one that we need to cut. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Cassandra Kislin, and I'm with the Sunrise Movement. I've lived in the 5th District for 4 years, and I've been in the region for 8 years. And I'm asking the council to save our public mass transit funding and to fully fund the KCATA so that we don't see the same service cuts and budget scares as last year. I do not ride the bus currently. However, my car was in the shop for several months when I was in college, and I relied on the bus system regularly then. As a broke college student, I was thankful for the free fare Lawrence provided to KU students and realized that I preferred buses to driving myself, as I find that stressful. Kansas City in particular was rated as the 6th most dangerous city to drive in by Consumer Affairs in 2025. So in addition to free fare lessening the financial burden of driving your own car on low-income Kansas Cityans, a well-funded bus system will lead to less drivers on the street, which would lessen traffic and wear on the streets, making them safer. This would make the streets safer for those who drive, allow those like myself to avoid driving if I choose, and support those who can't, and is a more sustainable investment in the roads than rating the PMT tax for road resurfacing. As someone who cares for my community members and wants to use reliable public transit instead of my car, I am asking you to use the budget to fund buses and not the police or the World Cup. And I also, this isn't scripted, but I work with adults with disabilities as my job, and they rely on the buses. That community relies on the buses for so many things. It's access to the community and allows them to actually live independent lives and engage with the community instead of being segregated out of it. To be able to support everyone who lives in Kansas City, we need buses to allow people to have independence and connect. Thanks.
I just moved here in August, and I live in the 5th District of Kansas City. I was excited about a lot of things about Kansas City, but what made it possible for me to see myself making the city my home was its arts community and its investment in public transportation. The drop is what makes it possible for me to see shows on the student budget, and it makes the arts accessible for people like me who usually can't afford it, despite being in the community myself. Artists want to engage with the community, and this is one way that makes that possible. Also, as someone who lives off of Troost without a car, public transit is how I get there. It's how I connect with the community that I'm just getting to know. I would like to ask the city to continue to use the Kansas City Public Mass Transportation Fund to maintain and improve the bus service so I can continue to engage with and support the world-class arts and entertainment the city has to offer. Thank you for your time.
is Linda Williams, and I am the Senior Project Manager for DROP, and I am also a 3rd District resident. When I talk about the DROP, I sometimes say I built this program, or I call it my program, but that's not really correct. I led a group of community members who helped shape the program into a trust-based initiative that opens the arts to people who may not have disposable income to participate, but still deserve access to the benefits of arts and culture. The DROP also gives arts organizations a meaningful reason to welcome these new audiences. They are not being asked to give away tickets for free. The program generates revenue that helps them sustain their work and encourages them to reevaluate how they engage with broader communities. Many cities have discount ticket programs, but the DROP is different. It's built around partnerships with trusted community organizations that help connect people to the arts. It also prioritizes sustainability for arts organizations and holds them accountable for ensuring new audiences feel welcomed and valued, and that members receive quality seats, not the leftovers behind pillars or in the furthest balcony rows. We got a lot right with this program. I hope you will restore the funding this year and invest in its growth. And I hope you also restore the funding for arts organizations to receive grants to continue their work. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Tiffany Moore. I'm a 6th District resident. 39 years ago, I came to this building for a week. One of the first places in Kansas City I ever visited. It took about 10 years to make my way back, and I chose Kansas City over a lot of other places along my journey. 15 years ago, I got involved with my neighborhood and started working with the city on projects and policies that truly meet people where they live. Over the course of the years, I've listened to residents in budget meetings, in PIAC meetings, in public hearings, at school and community meetings, and they're passionate. They are passionate, and they know what they need, and they take the time to say the roadmap to the budget, the policies, and the investments is in front of you. At PTA and community meetings, in PIACs and missions, and in the public testimony of life. It's quality of life, basic services, violence prevention, and people over pomp and circumstance. Focus the budget on the core business of running a well-maintained city that operates like resist the urge to chase new things at the expense of essential obligations to our residents. Snow removal, sidewalks, and public transit shouldn't need this constant attention. They should be business as usual. One of the most powerful trainings I've ever attended was on crisis communications, and the message that stuck to me is, what do you want the headline to read? We have a lot of headlines in Kansas City, but the one that I'm looking for is seeing Kansas City, Missouri, named as a top U.S. city to live in, along with our suburban neighborhoods.
Deb Herman, I had asked them to take me off the list to speak, but I thought I'd just come up and thank you for being in Northland. Thank you.
Nick Miller, Reginald Silvers, and Alex Nagel.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank everyone that's come out and spoke on transportation. So give yourselves a round of applause. Here we are yet again, kicking the same can down the same road with the same results. Talking about reducing service, cutting the budget. Realistically, you guys aren't really giving anything to KCATA. The 3/8 cent sales tax brings around $40 million in. You said that the budget is going to be around 77.8. That's only 33 $0.8 billion that you're giving. The public needs to be made aware of this, that you're not giving the full 77. And even last year, the 77 million was not enough. So what are you going to do this year different than you did last year? It doesn't seem like anything has changed. We're still having the same problems. Now you're talking about reducing service again, which you're going to have more people out on the streets during World Cup, and you don't want to increase the budget. We're asking that you fully fund the buses the way that you should. You can give 5% of the use tax, which is actually part of the money supposed to be going to KCATA, as well as the online sales. So, thank you very much.
President Silvers, good morning, Council, City Manager. President Silvers, President, National Local 500, city workers. If you could, can you stand for our city workers, Local 500? Appreciate it. Just wanted to show you all, the faces of, the individuals out here that's doing this work, right? And while we're here today, the budget doesn't ever seem to reflect the value of Local 500 and its members. We see fire and police, it's always the same discussion, public safety. But we do everything that's outside of fire and police. That's the water, that's the public works, that's the trash that we pick up, the routes that we keep clean with the snow, the water we treat, the health department, the airport. This is city planning development, neighborhood general services. We got a lot of vacancies in the city because we don't have competitive wages. And things have to change. So we here to let you all know this budget has to be evaluated to make sure we have competitive wages so we can recruit and retain. We have over 60-some% of our members have 4 years or less in the city. That's the lower. Fires is averaging 12, right? There's a reason why they can retain. We can't provide the city services that the citizens pay for if we don't have employees to do the job. It's just that simple. We got too much money getting spent on contracts, right? When we talk about how can we save money, contractors, we got too many that's doing the same job that we're doing. Bring them jobs back and turn them. That's what we're going to save. If we hire these contractors, then we're going right behind them, do the same work they just did. There's a lot of things that departments don't know about. And I know we have the support of lower management and even directors, right, on this. So we're just saying, before this budget is solidified and done, I think what the wages is asking for on our end, it needs to be held until we know exactly what we need to pay for Local 500 members to make sure we provide the service. And so, once again, I just want to thank you all, but I just want to let you all know we're here because we want to be back. Thank you.
My name's Alex Nagel. I'm the board president of the Social Symphony of Kansas City. I am also here today to ask for restoration of funding for XKC, and I was glad to hear that you're working on restoring that funding. The restoration of that fund would represent a less than 1% increase on the neighborhood services budget, and the benefits to the arts community far outweigh the additional cost. Those funds have been crucial to our mission as an organization as well as organizations in the community. So I urge you to restore the funding, please. Thank you.
Deanna Nunez, Melissa Dowds, and Logan Jennings. Deanna Nunez. Okay, Melissa Dowds.
Good morning, City Council members. My name is Melissa Dowds. I live in the east side of Kansas City, off of Brighton.
I'm a leader with Stand Up KC and Missouri Worker Center. I need a city budget that gives low-wage workers like me the freedom to make good living and have what we need to take care of ourselves and our families. When I look back this year, the city budget, and the deep cuts that are being proposed, I worry that my life and the lives of my fellow community members will only get harder. Cuts to healthcare levies fund that supports university health and the lack of increases in the funding for the KCATA, which could result in cuts to vital bus routes, would be significantly harmful. In 2010, I had a urinary tract infection that backed up into my kidneys. I almost died. And if it wasn't for university health and the nurses and the doctors saving my life because they had no choice to, but if you take the funding away, what's that gonna do? The amazing doctors and the amazing nurses and doctors at University Health saved my life that day. And if my care would have been delayed in any way, such as the hospitals being short-staffed because of budget cuts, I would have lost my life. Wait times at University Health emergency rooms are already long. How many people could lose their lives waiting, like I almost did? I am also a bus driver. I rely on the bus to get where I need to go, like the grocery store and the doctors, to work. I relied on the bus to get to my previous job, downtown Kansas City at the convention center. Where I looked out the window.
I'm going to ask you to wrap it up, please.
Whereas I looked out the window, leaving the east side and entering downtown, I saw buildings in the city, while on my own block were forgotten.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Logan Jennings. I am the proud Vice President of the Social Symphony of Kansas City. I, like many folks, grew up in the arts that were devastatingly underfunded. And when I was considering a place to move with my family 5 years ago, Kansas City felt like the Mecca. And in the way that you described Kansas City earlier as this community behind me that speaks for each other and understands the priority of the good of the people. It's what keeps me in Kansas City. And we are so grateful to have the funding from Arts KC. We have 95 musicians who are volunteers that come and put on free concerts for the community. And I do arts as it's not my way that I earn my living. It's how I volunteer, it's how I participate in the community, it's how the 95 musicians do as well. We earn money doing other things and put that back into Kansas City, and then we're able to expand that within our time off. And that is what we have. It's each other, and it's music, and it's arts, and our wait list is tenfold of how many people that we're supporting right now. There is such a need and a desire for more capacity for the arts, and I know that Arts KC supports more than just us. And so, because we're able to just have a rehearsal space because of the grant funding, we're able to do so much more just to have that foundation. And I know that they do so much more for others as well. So just a drop in the bucket, please restore the funding for Arts KC.
First Sons and Dana Meyer.
my children become a victim of a shooting incident on the way to school. No one wants to think about that. It seems like there's a new fatality due to car crash or shooting every week. So let's just do a better job of loving each other, respecting each other, supporting each other. And thank you, everyone. God bless.
Good morning, Council. My name is Chris Sons. While I serve as a city employee and as the treasurer and steward for the local City 500, of a husband and wife team that, despite both of our dedications to the city, still have to maintain multiple jobs to make ends meet. Mayor Lucas recently stated in his State of the City address that the core of this budget are the people, the employees who keep this city running. Mayor Pro Tem, you recently acknowledged that city employees are leaving for better paying jobs, sometimes coming here gaining certifications, and then leaving for higher wages elsewhere. Those two statements highlight an important reality. Kansas City cannot build a strong city without a strong investment in its workforce. When wages fall behind, market turnover increases. Or we fall behind market, turnover increases. When turnover increases, the city spends more on overtime. Training and recruitment, institutional knowledge walks out the door, and delivery of services become harder. Competitive pay is not just about fairness, it is about operational stability and good governance. I would encourage also the city to place greater trust in their human resources department. We have an amazing HR team, but their hands are often tied. If HR is limited to simply making recommendations to department directors when management problems arise, the city risks poor retention, declining morale, and in some cases, those costly lawsuits. Empowering HR to play a stronger role in addressing management practices could reduce risk, improve retention, and strengthen accountability across departments. Kansas City is investing heavily in infrastructure and development, and that's important, but infrastructure does not run itself. These people do. If you truly believe that people are at the core of this budget, then we must invest in a workforce that keeps the city operating every day. Thank you.
Hi all. I'm going to say right here, I'm very nervous speaking into a microphone, so I apologize if I clutter my words. But my name is Dana Meyer, and I am back here before y'all to plead for you to fully fund public transit for Kansas City. I've been a resident of the 4th District since 2008, and I'm unable to drive due to binocular vision dysfunction. I rely on our bus system, riding my bike on those bike lanes, and walking to get around, run errands, just get to jobs, live my life. And I do want to say really quick, before those bike lanes were implemented, my husband was hit by a car that was driven by a distracted driver, and he would not have been hit if those bike lanes hadn't existed back then. The proposed budget amount is not enough to fully fund our bus system. Keeping things status quo will be a death sentence for public transit in Kansas City because when buses are not fully funded, routes are cut and service suffers. Already, bus routes that I rely on have been cut back and only run once or twice an hour. I'm scared that when KCATA goes underfunded, these cuts will get worse, and routes that I need and rely on, like the 25, will get cut altogether. We need fast, frequent, and reliable public transit that the people of Kansas City can depend on. Fully fund our buses so more bus drivers can be hired, and so that they can be paid competitive wages that they deserve. More drivers means reliability. If you do not properly fund our bus system, then folks like me, who depend on riding the bus, will continue being ghosted when scheduled buses cannot show up because there aren't enough drivers. That unreliability isn't functional. It's hard to ride the bus when I can't even rely on it to show up. When I read that the temporary bus routes planned this summer for World Cup tourists will run every 15 or 20 minutes, it feels like a slap across the face. Y'all find the funding so tourists can experience fast, frequent transit in Kansas City, but leave hardworking residents like me behind. The residents of KC deserve better. We deserve fast, functional, and fully funded public transit. Listen to bus riders. Fully fund our buses. Thank you.
And Moran? Right, anywhere close? Oh, go ahead.
Good morning, City Council. Thank you for letting me speak here in front of all of you today, and thank you for trying to pronounce my name. My name is Zoltan Petrovic, and I serve as an intern at Justice System Partners Organization. Throughout this role, I have been participating in many supporting programs that are directly funded by Violence Prevention Fund. And over the past months, I had a chance to participate in many neighborhood events across the Kansas City area, especially those that were identified as having high rates of crime. Being there on the ground in person, I had a chance to see something that statistics alone cannot fully capture. I saw many families bringing their children there through community gatherings where they could play safely and spend time together. Also, I could see neighbors spending time together, making great relationships and also supporting one another. And lastly, I want to mention great neighborhood leaders who were creating amazing and really positive spaces for all of their neighbors, where they could come and talk about something constructive rather than focusing on challenges that those neighborhoods often face. So when you attend those events, you can see that these programs are not just creating simple and ordinary activities. They are building trust, they are creating a greater community and providing positive role models and also positive opportunity for young people. So this kind of environment, honestly, is creating and directly challenging and facing conditions where violence and crime cannot grow. My point is that support for Violence Prevention Fund is what makes these opportunities possible. Those are not just some kind of abstract ideas, they're real experiences, and those are lives of people. So from all of these reasons, I can say that this fund needs to stay at its current level and should not be reduced. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Myrn Paith, and I recently lost my job at a DV shelter due to the cuts. And while it's unfortunate that I lost a job in this economy, my main concern is for the people who don't have the support that I do. These budget cuts will lead to lives lost, whether that's the survivors or their children, or they will have to go back to their abusers, which then continues the cycle between them and their children. So I implore you not to cut anymore, just so that we can show that these people, these survivors, that they matter. Thank you.
Okay, Maurice Taylor, if you're here, come on up. I'm going to call additional names. Margarita Friedman, Cynthia Watry, and it looks like Ryan Taxpayer. And if that may be it. Okay. Go ahead.
From the Northeast, I come here to let you know, obviously, that you have a budget in amount of dollars. But the budget is not considered the dormant assets that you already have. And you are not considering also that you are not alone trying to make the city a better place to live for everybody. There are many non-profit organizations and many residents willing to help you in many ways. I'm talking about a dormant asset that you have it everywhere and is for sale, unfortunately. I'm talking about your vacant schools. We have in the Northeast put together more than 1,500 signatures of organizations, stores, leaders that want to work together, put together our efforts, so in one place we consolidate all the resources already existing, saving money, creating more places here and there, but just renting one classroom, just using it constantly or partially, bringing together education, training for the high school students who want to go to college or need to be trained in a job, creating more labor, diminishing crime, and creating opportunities to raising students' level. We want to provide homework assistance. We want to have every children be raised, be motivated when they see their mothers at the same time taking classes on how to raise children, how to get a job, how to partner together to start a micro business. We can do it, all of us. We only need you to support us, helping us with the use of the school. That is money that you have dormant. You will sell it, you get more money, do more police, to stop more crime when we can prevent that constantly. That's all I want to tell you. I want you to present the project, the 1,500 signatures we have from church leaders, non-profit organizations, our neighborhood associations, that we are working together to volunteer, to do it, to raise funds. That's all. Thank you.
Good morning, council members and members of the city manager's office. My name is Cynthia Watry. I'm a digital case manager with Essential Families. I'm also a veteran educator of nearly 25 years and a former alternative school principal. During my time as a principal, families sat in my office almost every day. Parents who were overwhelmed, parents who were exhausted, parents who loved their children deeply but were trying to navigate housing instability, financial pressure, behavioral challenges, and systems that were incredibly difficult to access. And what became clear to me very quickly is this: most families are not failing because they don't care. They're struggling because they don't have the support they need when they need it. That's why the work of Essential Families matters so much. Since 2023, Essential Families has supported more than 1,000 Kansas City families through programs that strengthen parenting, economic mobility, and family stability. Families in those programs report a 4.9 out of 5 satisfaction rating because the support is responsive, trauma-informed, and accessible when they need it most. Our team of 60 digital case managers provides 24/7 telehealth and case management support, meeting families where they are and often preventing small challenges from turning into the kinds of crises that later show up in our schools, courts, and emergency systems. As Kansas City navigates difficult budget decisions, I urge you to protect funding for prevention and family engagement programs like Essential Telehealth and Essential Parenting. Because when families have the tools, the guidance, and the support to create stability at home, children do better in school, communities are safer, and our city is stronger. I've spent my career working with families when things have already broken down. Programs like Essential Families help ensure we reach them before that happens. Thank you for your time and for your service to Kansas City.
Father in heaven, please guide this weakened earth's vessel. Please help him to use his words towards his elected officials, his elected servants, in a way that honors your sacrifice, your Son, Jesus Christ.
Amen.
I'm an employee at Kansas City Water. I'm a craftsperson. I'm a machinist. And I don't want to pat my back, but I think I do a good job. I've been there for 3 years. I've watched the skill leave that building because the wages do not compete with the private sector. Those 3 years, I've watched the work that I can do, the work that my coworkers can do, get contracted out to contractor after contractor after contractor. I don't know how to solve this problem. I'm just a goon down here on the ground. But if you're going to, that 30% of our workforce is going to be gone within 3 or 4 years due to attrition. You don't have a wage that is going to compete with the private sector to replace those people. I don't know what your plan is. I don't know what the answer is. With the police budget, I'm not sure how many millions was paid out to lawsuits because of misbehavior by our law enforcement officers. The public aren't angels either. I don't know how to solve that problem. To the women who husband was hit by a car. My mother was hit by a school bus that was driven by a distracted driver. She lost her life. I'm sorry to share this thing. Each and every one of the council members, we're all going through struggles personally. Know that we were all created in the image of God. Reach for his hand to help me out.
And Jalen Wiley. Brandon Taylor, Dynamite Brown, and Jalen Wiley.
Good morning, Council. My name is Brianne Taylor. I live in the 6th District, and I am a professor of theater at UMKC Conservatory. And I come to you today as a teacher of young students that are entering college, training to go out and be members of our active community. I come to you as an artist myself, and I come to you as a mother of 2 very young children. I grew up in the Great Plains region. This was home to me. My access to the arts was incredibly limited. I lived on a cattle farm for most of my life. I have spent many years out in Appalachia and in Washington, D.C., and I moved back to Kansas City because this was the place for me to raise my children in an area that included all of the wonderful storytelling and possibilities of the Great Plains in this urban setting. I'm imploring you, I am relieved to hear that there is some re-looking at how you will allocate money for KC Arts, but I just want to ask that be fully unstated. This cut comes at a time when federal and state grant making is at a horrifyingly all-time low, where people cannot put forth their art if there is anything that has to do with identification of who these humans are, and that is indeed the purpose of art, is to get our individual stories put out there where folks can support and see that and identify with it. As an artist here and on a salary that I am privileged to have teaching at a university, it is still not enough for me to be able to go see and support the art that is in town. I too rely on the drop tickets just as my students do in order to be able to support and see the art that is happening in Kansas City. For students that are entering into this, we see an increase of high school students that engage with arts programming that graduate from 73% to 90%. They score an average of 100% more points on the SATs. They're 5 times less likely to drop out of high school and 2 times more likely to graduate from college. So if we're going to continue to build a community that comes forth to support one another like we have seen today, we have to begin investing in this infrastructure that's going to help our youth then also step forward and carry this forward.
Dynamite Brown. It's Dynamite here. All right, and Jalen Wiley. When I call your name, if you all can make sure you're lined up, because we still have a lot more testimony.
My name is Jalen Wally. I'm with Solid Waste. All my public works people, please stand up. We're out here every day, hot and cold, no matter the weather. You know what? I'm gonna just be real and just tell y'all how they treat us, our city workers. 10 degrees outside, we can't get the right gloves. We're using summer gloves. Summer gloves are thin. I want to say you probably 10 minutes outside, you're dealing with frostbites.
You can take the mic out.
Dealing with frostbites, we can't get the right gear, won't even provide us hand warmers. We cover all our tents, so now some of us have to pull 3,000 houses a day, which is 2 routes, 15,000. And you know, some of us have to work until 4 and only get paid until 3 because of budget, so we're working for free. I'm just being real, y'all probably don't know that. So, we got money for 360 cameras, but we can't get the right gloves, we can't get the right PPE. We can't get paid for staying out until 3, but we can install 360 cameras for what? We can't get the trucks ready. They take 2 to 3 weeks to fix a truck, but can take less than 24 hours to install 360 cameras.
That ain't right.
I'm out here every day. Frostbites, can't feel my hands. Got permanent damage to my hands to make sure this city's clean for 19 an hour. Would you let your son work out here for 19 hours?
Chappelle's? Am I, okay, thank you.
How's everybody doing today? I'm also with Public Works as well, solid waste. A few things that's actually my older brother, he just touched on. 19 an hour is kind of crazy. Just for all the service, the hours, sometimes we can work Saturdays permanently. We don't have time away from our kids, our families, or anything. We always there at work. Of course, if we don't come to work, we get threatened by it, or whatever the city policies are. I just wanted to make sense to us. We're dealing with certain chemicals on a daily basis, certain things that splash on us, certain injuries that happen at work that don't even get taken serious or into consideration the majority of the time. As far as the hours that my brother has spoken on that we all feel the way about, none of us agree with that at all. We're putting in hours every day. I feel like I should be able to live what I'm putting in my work for at the end of the day. I'm being asked to show up every day to clean these streets, to make sure these neighborhoods are clean to my fullest capacity. And I can't even get the right pay. And that bothers me. At 24 years old, that bothers me. Because I honestly wear that as a badge of honor down there on my sleeve to work for the city, and I can't even make sure I'm getting taken care of from the city as well. So I do find it real crazy that we do have money to put in new cameras and do all these other things, the World Cup, all these other things, and nobody's honestly being paid correctly. That's just how I feel.
How y'all doing? My name is Jeffrey Jones. I work for the water department and serve in local 500. I'm a union steward too. I can touch on a lot of things. I can be transparent like my brothers, and I can touch on certain things that we identify as what we see out there every day. But the biggest testament to what I want to speak to, being in front of y'all, because I don't see y'all on a daily basis, I really don't get to really orchestrate certain things with y'all so y'all don't hear our voice, is accountability. I feel like the biggest standpoint that our city has to understand and that we can take care of is accountability. Accountability for our actions, accountability for transparency, accountability for things that are said and unsaid or unheard and behind the closed doors. I feel like that is the biggest testament to what is going on in the city. Now, to elaborate on what my president said, he talked about the budget and certain things. Certain people talked about the budget as well. And he also talked about outsourcing, which is a big problem in the city. Outsourcing is a big problem considering the fact that, like I said again, I work in the water department. Outsourcing there, I work in the Pacific section of pipeline. Now, pipeline is the ones that do the main breaks and they do your service lines to your house. Now, that is a service that we provide on a daily basis. This service, I actually love it and I take pride in it every single day doing what I do, because there are certain people that will pull up to their job, pull up to the job and pull up to their house, and these people literally are out of water. They might have an elderly person in there. Anything can be going on in the house. And so us pulling up and providing an adequate and efficient time frame for us to be able to re-put them back in water or evaluate them being back in water helps them. So with this being said, if you're outsourcing that, the quality of my understanding being that I am an actual person that stays in the city limits, and I am actually a consumer as well, it takes away that value. And so that structure of being a valuable thing is just a structure that you take away when you outsource it. And you're also giving money that is supposed to be allocated back to the city employees and the people of the city. You're giving that to other people out in Lee Summit and Blue Springs and everything like that. So the last thing I want to say is, like I said, I live with accountability. The biggest thing that I want to say, because I'm not here to bash nobody, because we all have our own implementation and how we do things, and we are accountable in our own action. But the accountability and the structure of what we are taking for what we are to do with what we are put in charge of comes down to your own self-reflection. So if you see it and you identify it a certain type of way, or if you're looking at this structure as I want to put something in place that is not only memorable, but something that will outlast me and my tenure, that is your accountability and that is your structure. So understanding that is what I feel is the biggest thing outside of the budget, which is monetary, but the actual reflection of accountability and dealing with the budget and being overstanding of these things is what we help us do.
KC from Mayor Pro Tem Smith District, and I am here, unfortunately, on my regular soapbox about sidewalks. I voted for the funding years ago on our road bond, and I still have yet to see sidewalks in my little neighborhood association, except for one little block, and I do not believe we should be relying on HIAC funds for safety infrastructure. We have spots in our neighborhood that are gaps of a foot tall. And Mayor Pro Tem's been out and walked that street, but it's not just that street. It is throughout our entire city that sidewalks are in need of replacement. I see in our budget that we have street resurfacing. Now, does that include sidewalks, or is that just streets? We know we have a pothole problem in this city, and that's a real problem that needs to be addressed. But sidewalks where children are walking in the streets because our sidewalks are so unsafe, it's just a public safety issue as far as I'm concerned. I'm a hospital chaplain for what I do, and I worked at Children's Mercy. I have held mothers whose children have been hit by cars, and I do not want to do that because of sidewalks. I really believe like this is a public safety issue in our city. We should not have to be begging for sidewalks or curbs to keep our children safe. So that's why I'm here this morning. But again, it does not need to be something that needs to be set aside for pilot funding. It should be an infrastructure issue for our kids can get to school, they can get the buses, that they should be able to ride for free, I believe in our city.
Terry English Yancey and Avery Jones. All right, is it Dick or is it Rick? Rick Caton, okay. Terry, come on up.
Good morning again, it's me. Good morning again, it's me, Terry Yancey, founder and CEO of Essential Families at 2409 Prospect in the Central City Economic Development District. We serve families in all 6 districts who are unserved and underserved in healthcare, digital access, and basic stability. Thank you to Councilman Russ Rogers for connecting us with Northland Neighbor League and Deb Herman, our new community partner in the Northland. Thank you to Mayor Pro Tem Rainey Park Shaw, Councilwoman Melissa Robinson, Councilwoman Melissa Patterson-Hasley, Mia Webster, and Digital Equity Manager Jerry Buckman for your leadership and partnership. Kansas City's priority-based budgeting calls for targeted investments where they matter most. Essential Families is one of those investments. We're asking you to use your existing FY27 funds to lift families in all 6 districts who consistently are left behind. First, we request $1.8 million, a coordinated allocation across 8 city departments that already serve our residents to reduce the 2,493 families on our wait list for digital equity, enabling economic mobility, parenting support, housing, navigation, workforce readiness, and telehealth. Second, our Essential Telehealth Service is a fully approved Medicaid provider delivering 24/7 primary and mental health care to seniors and single-parent households. But Medicaid does not reach everyone. We ask you to align Essential Telehealth with $12.5 million Healthy Communities Bond Fund so we can also serve the uninsured and those not eligible for Medicaid, closing the healthcare gap for families who have nowhere else to go. Third, we ask you to restore fully funding for Community Action Network, CAN centers. Restore the $250,000 being cut and fully fund CAN centers to all 10 sites so we can serve them all. Today, from 11 to noon, my digital case managers are currently conducting CAN workshops for 20 Vineyard neighborhood residents in a community of more than 900 neighbors who are still needing of the services. So I appreciate your time today.
Urging you all to consider a variety of budget amendments. Firstly, you all made a big step by making right turns on red school zones. We know this is a small portion of the work needed to prevent traffic deaths before they happen. There's evidence Vision Zero was working, as there was a 30% decrease in traffic deaths this year with 40 projects over last year. If it works, we must continue to adequately fund and address our unaddressed deadliest streets like Troost, Independence Avenue, that people have been begging for years to get addressed. The goal is to never talk to another family, as I have too many times these past few years, about their loved one who was killed on the street that we've known for years needed change, and we've known how to change it. And I'm tired of telling people just wait for kayak, as was said before. Vision Zero and transit go hand in hand. As a bus rider without a car, I see every day how people completely orient their lives around the system. I talk to older people and disabled people who lose their independence in their community if their line is cut. Using PMT funds for actual transit needs rather than streetlights can prevent so many Kansas Cityans from losing their connective thread. Also, just because you personally have a car and don't need a bus or bike, we should care about people I see every day getting off the bus, riding their bikes to work, trying not to get hit by cars while walking, because they have no other choice. Just because they aren't you doesn't mean that they are nobody. Lastly, there's so much money going into punitive public safety, with pennies going into programs I've heard today that we know truly make people safe on the ground and address the root issues that we're constantly talking about but never earnestly investing in. Investing real funds in something like the Community Resource Center that I know Douglas has been advocating for shows we're truly committed to true public safety and not just locking people away in time for the World Cup who need things from their city. All in all, I hope we can consider all these things that I mentioned as what truly makes the city safe, not just one type of city.
I'm Dick Payton. I'm a resident at New Springs Terrace, which is houses that were set aside in 1906 for retired ministers. My house is almost that old, but I'm not. I appreciate it. This is my first budget, by the way. Some talk about 7 budgets. I admire the tenacity and staying with it, all of them involved. But I got to thinking about, 2,500 millions, that many decisions. It's mind-boggling. The balancing of the budget and the fall short that was mentioned today. But I'm here because I seek to follow a homeless Jew who heard the prophets of the Hebrew Bible say pretty clearly that the way a nation treats its poor is the way they treat God. And he said it in a different way. He said, you treat me the way you treat the hungry. You treat me the way you bring a drink to the thirsty. You visit me when I'm sick. You visited me when I was in prison. And I would remind all of us that this is a call to respond to those who are not here this day, and a call to hear what is being said here and in the others that have gone before, to listen. The healings, and I'm trying to emphasize the healings. You all, I'm proud of you because I believe in democracy. And democracy is hard. It's hard work. But every generation has to claim it again and again.
Adrian Roon and Tracy Redmond. Micaiah, Adrian, and Tracy.
My name is Tracy Redmond. I am a city employee and work with the Central Service Department. I am very proud to say that I am a city employee. I'm going to keep it short. But it is very sad to say that we are very underpaid for what we do, the services that we give. I've been employed for at least 10 years with the city, and I can't afford to purchase a home. I'm actually afraid to purchase a home because I don't think I'll be able to cover the cost. We shouldn't be in that predicament. We work hard. Our job as city employees is to keep the city safe, clean, and in close compliance. We also risk our lives on a daily basis, although we are not valued. As I stated, I work in the building. I'm in there for kids here. I have buildings collapsing on me. Fires rekindling while I'm inside to deem it dangerous or safe. But I'm going to push you down just like ACFP did. Thank you.
My name is Micaiah. I'm a proud. My name is Micaiah. I'm a proud member of Local 500. To piggyback off what our president and my mom just mentioned, our employees are majorly underpaid. The wages aren't competitive. My mom, as she stated, has worked here for 10 plus years, and to say that we can't afford a home is a massive understatement, which is not only a worry for her right now, but for myself, who looks forward today, look forward to my future, and I don't know where I'll go from here. You know, I've worked with the city to get the experience and get the money, but in the long road, I do see myself leaving for better pay, which is unfortunate because I want to stay with the city and build myself, build my family for the city and for our community. Yeah. That's my plan, what I want to reach. But to say that's realistic, it's really not at this time, unfortunately. And to also state that as all the money is going to KCFE and KCPE and contractors outside of our own workforce, it's very unfortunate as well because, as some of the people have mentioned, I am a hard worker, not to be cocky, but I'm one of the best. My peers, we are also one of the best. We are the best. So to not get paid the wages we the wages we need to afford a decent lifestyle. To say it's not fair is understandable. To say that something needs to change is obvious. Now, where we go from here is the biggest problem. Just came here to put back love in your guys' ear to get over it right.
Is Adrian? Okay. Markeisha, Markeisha, is it Bosky or Bavsky? Kelsey Coffey and Claudette Ferris? Or Harris, I'm sorry. Claudette Harris. Markeisha, oh, I skipped one too. Aaron Chambers? No, or that's an A. Amandes? Bear with me. Sorry. If your name is Markeisha, Aaron, Kelsey, and Claudette, or anything close to that, please come forward. All right, we have one.
My name is Kelsey Coffey. I believe I live in the 4th district. A couple of my really close and dear friends are closely connected with the Drop and Arts KC. That was my original intent in attending and speaking, was just to advocate for that. My name is Kelsey Coffey. I believe I live in the 4th district. A couple of my really close and dear friends are closely connected with the Drop and Arts KC. That was my original intent in attending and speaking, was just to advocate for that Arts KC funding. My best friends, one of them teaches and leads Arts KC workshops with the Drop. It's how they're able to live and work as an artist. It supplements their income, but it also helps build community, and the arts are important as a city and as our community. My other friend helped to develop the program of the Drop. I did hear you say that you're working on retaining that funding, making sure that it's still in place. But just to myself and my community, it is deeply important. Since being here, I came to be aware of also like the busing, funding, and some of the other items that people are talking on. And I would just implore you that it is the job of the city to provide basic infrastructure for safety, for public transit, and for the arts. And if you would just do your best to make sure that those things are in place, our city and our community will be better for it. So thank you so much.
Guyer, maybe.
Hi, my name is Haley Edgerton. I live just 5 minutes from here in the 2nd district. We've heard today about funding issues citywide leading to budget cuts to essential services and programs like public transportation, the arts, potholes, sidewalks, social services and shelters, youth services, trash pickup, and city staff. In the council budget hearings last week, you routinely asked city departments to do more with less, to be brave and get creative with generating funding to support their programs. But are you doing the same? It's your job to make sure we all pay to keep our streets drivable, our parks accessible, our buses running, our essential city services staffed.
Rather than giving contracts and tax cuts to big corporations who would profit off of Kansas Cityans' labor but not pay into our systems, ensure they pay their fair share. Rather than underinvest and then use resulting underperformance as evidence for further cuts, sell the investment to your constituents. Resentment breeds in the dark, and rational people recognize they don't get something for nothing. Be brave. Ask for what the city needs to fund the programs and services we all came here today not to cut, and then fund them instead of prioritizing companies and systems that don't contribute value back into our budget. Thank you all for your time.
Kamisha Webb, Lily Feinson, Zach Gus, and David Blank.
Hello again. Thank you for doing this. I want to begin by acknowledging the difficult position that you are in. The city is facing a budget shortfall, and minimum spend on the police department is determined not by you, but by state law. This means you're going to have to make some unpopular decisions, and I thank you for being out here to face the public anyways. Many other people have made compelling arguments based on social justice, public safety, public health, and overall living experience for the residents of their city. Their points are valid, and I hope you find them compelling. But if not, allow me to present a purely economic argument. The city budget can reasonably be thought of as an investment, and like all good investors, you should be chiefly interested in the return on your investment. Luckily, the nerds at the nation's economic departments have already worked out what kinds of things will provide reliable returns. The number one thing that municipalities can do to increase their budget so that they don't have to cut programs is upzoning. While not directly a budget issue, I would urge all of you to be more concerned with moving more of the city's residential-only zones to medium density, which will reliably return 10 to 50x on revenues from a given plot, not 10% or 50%, 10 to 50 times as much revenue. Number two is public transportation, especially when it's built to support the aforementioned upzoning. And the more permanent the infrastructure, the better the economic return, which makes sense. Businesses want to know that services will not be cut capriciously. The Kansas City streetcar is a glowing example of this. The city spent $300 million on the project, and the investment has generated over $4 billion in investments along the corridor. That's a 10-to-1 return, and that is a minimum because the money spent on Vision Zero projects doesn't just go in a hole, it goes in the pockets of our city workers, construction workers, and engineers, who then go on to participate in the economy and pay taxes. So, for no other reason, please fully fund Vision Zero projects because that money will provide a positive return on investment and prevent budget shortfalls in the future. Thank you.
I'm Lily. Sorry. No, you're fine. And Lily, oh, Lily, stand here. You're fine.
Hi, my name is David Blank. I'm a clarinet player in the Social Symphony of Kansas City. I'm here to speak on behalf of the budget cuts for Arts KC. I understand there may have been some decisions made here already, but I'd still like to read the statement I have prepared. 4 years ago, I joined the Social Symphony. The first concert I played with the group, I did not know a single person in the audience, but it didn't matter because for the first time in over a decade, I was performing again. Since that first show, I've had many family members, friends, and even coworkers attend our concerts. The Social Symphony has helped me grow my personal community, as well as the community of Kansas City at large. This season, we have the incredible opportunity to work with Marcus Lewis for a performance at a charity's anniversary fundraiser. I've been a fan of Marcus for several years, and being able to collaborate with him for this concert is quite literally a dream come true, that would not be possible without the funding of Arts KC. Not everyone is a good enough musician to be performing at the Kauffman Center, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't have the opportunity to do what we love. The proposed budget cuts of Arts KC represents the slashing of the hopes and dreams of many community members. It may not happen overnight, within the fiscal year, or even within your terms, but the cut funding to Arts KC would slowly erode the community that thousands of Kansas Cityans have worked for years, or even lifetimes to build. I humbly request that you please reconsider your decision and restore Arts KC's funding to the full $325,000. It is not just an expense. It is an investment in Kansas City's future, in its culture, and in the people who call this city a city. Thank you.
I just want to be clear, no decisions have been made. There won't be decisions until we vote on the budget at the end of March, right? I want to make that clear. We haven't voted yet, but we have had some discussions on it. Go ahead, Lynn.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to say I'm really honored to speak up here alongside of you all. Everyone who's out here today, thank you for coming and speaking out. I know you don't have total control over how much money is spent on police, but I am asking that you please choose to spend the minimum amount required on police so that you have as much funding as possible for social services. Police don't prevent crime. I am a social worker and I know from experience that crime is prevented through connecting with community and providing resources. If you care about the lives and well-being of the community, you will pour money into resources like access to public transportation, public services, accessible arts, and community programming that help people connect with resources and survive. Community and social services prevent crime. If we focus on uplifting our community, it will become a safer and more joyful place to live. And one more thing. I'm from Boston, and I lived in New York City, infamous cities for aggressive driving, and the road safety there is impeccable compared to here. I moved here a few years ago, and I adore this community. I'm not a Midwesterner, and in my ideal world, I would stay here for a long time, but I want to have a family someday, and the idea of having children on the roads here is horrifying. This is probably the most unsafe I've felt as a driver and a pedestrian in my entire life, and there's so little public transit that I have no other option to get around. Cutting 25% of funding for a program that aims to prevent traffic deaths would be absurd. We need safer roads, and even more importantly, we need more public transportation so that people can live and work and access public resources. Really, really, really think. Use this money to invest in people, all the people that showed up here today to make points about the resources that they need and make their lives safer and better. Thank you.
That is all that I have on the list. But there were several names that I called or attempted to call that no one responded to. If you think that you signed up and we're expecting your name to be called, I'm going to ask you to come forward. We're not going to open it up again because we have had several hours. But obviously there were several that did not come forward when I called a name. I'm not sure that I pronounced it anywhere near where it was, but if you think your name, if you signed up, circled yes, and gave it to those that were taking sign in, please come forward. And tell us your name. And I'm going to check my list twice, just like Sam has.
Can you hear me? My name is Calvin Crispin. God bless the council. God bless 500. Let me make this quick. I moved to the city in 2015. I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. I worked for the Department of Public Works for 15 years. I was a Greyhound driver here for 2 years. And when I first got here, I got on with the city, and I cleaned your lovely sewers for 5 years. It's your equipment operator. And now I'm at the downtown airport. So I know all about being a public servant. And I hear the pain of my 500 brothers. When you're a public servant, it takes away time from your family. Some people work from 7 a.m. to 9:30 at night. So I'm just asking, when you do the budget, keep in consideration and energy and the effort that we put into the city to keep it moving. We out here chasing criminals and we're not first responders, but we keep the city moving, pushing that snow, getting up that trash, and cleaning them sewers. That's my first part. My second one is, wow, I'm gonna be a little graphic, so just work with me here. I'm serious. I need somebody to listen to me. I'm a resident of District 3. Me and my wife worked really, really hard to get our credit together in 2001 to buy a house. We got hustled a little bit, paid about $30,000 over, ended up moving in the Likens neighborhood area. I don't want to sound like a gripe session, but I don't understand Kansas City. The squatter rights here is ridiculous. The homeless is out of control. I ain't standing up here for claps and lights, but to get to that airport job at 6:30 in the morning, have an autistic child, I shouldn't have to turn into Chuck Norris 6:30 in the morning, knocking out some creek, masturbating in the bushes, and my daughter's scared to walk to the bus stop. These squatters is out of control. The prostitution is out of control. Please pass some type of legislation that kind of helps the homeowners keep their property up and, not trash the area. Now clean it up once and they come back and trash it again. That's ridiculous. Let's get serious. I don't want to feel like a gripe session. It needs to be some energy movement on this because it's unsafe, it's dangerous. I just want to get in and make sure my family's safe. So if somebody can pay attention to the squatter and this homeless stuff, it's weird. In most major metropolitan cities, you don't set up a camp right next door to a park. It's ridiculous.
Hello, my name is Aiden Allen. I signed up late, so my name might not have been on it, but I've lived in Kansas City for years, gone to school here, worked here. I love this city truly with my heart. And I've heard over and over again that the city budget is a reflection of our values. But I think this room, and I think if you go into the streets and talk to anybody in Kansas City, the values that this city holds is that we need reliable public transit, we need our workers to be taken care of, we need our resources to be funded fully. And it's clearly that we're not meeting those values. But we've also seen this city develop through the years without the needs of the working people in mind. The Economic Development Corporation of Kansas City, whose board is appointed by Mayor Lucas, who is not here, gave $121 million in tax abatements and tax redirects to wealthy corporations to develop in Kansas City. And what's also around $100 million, the budget deficit that we were so worried about that you all have worked tirelessly and hard to figure out. So we're willing to give $121 million to corporations to develop in our city, who's not giving us good paying jobs, who's not giving back to the community, but we're not willing to invest in the needs and the values of that this city needs. We're not willing to pay our workers more. We're not willing to give public transit more funding and expand routes instead of cutting it, yet we're willing to give millions of dollars away in taxes to corporations. It fundamentally doesn't make sense. And I'm saying that this is a common sense issue. Whenever these issues are decided, I ask that the city council think of who am I serving here? Am I serving the people of Kansas City or am I serving corporate interests? Thank you.
has been hiring a lot of out-of-state contractors for these jobs, and it is ridiculous. We have so many homegrown contractors right here in Kansas City that contribute to our economy all year round, and yet we're overlooking them and we're sending money to these contractors that are out of state. So I just lastly wanted to say, just regarding the transportation and that the same energy that we're putting in surrounding FIFA, we need to be considerate of our Kansas Cityans all year round.
Thank you all for being here again. I think roughly, I believe over the 3 public budget meetings, and don't quote me on this, I think we had about 390 in attendance. We heard testimony from about 125 people, and I think that is a great turnout. Now, granted, we have about 515,000 residents in Kansas City. Some of them are, under the age of 10 and 12, so they're probably not going to spend their Saturday morning here talking with us. But I mean, that is really a testament to the fact that Kansas City does passionately care about the way that we as a council make decisions on the budget. And so I just want to say thank you to you all for being here, for sharing your thoughts with us. Again, as I said, at each of the opening of the 3 meetings, we do listen, we do make changes. Last year, I think we have amendments that Brett mentioned, I think you mentioned in this presentation. We have amendments that are A, B, and C usually, and the A amendments are administrative amendments. I think last year we made it all the way up to D in our amendments. And so there will be changes to this budget. There are always changes to our budget as we take into account not only public testimony, but changes that need to be made based upon recommendations from staff and this council. So I'm going to wrap it up, and I will give our colleagues a chance to make some closing arguments. And we'll start with Councilwoman French, or the city manager. We'll start on the other side this time.
Finally, it's working. Well, like Councilmember Booth said, we're being here, that this is the part of the budget process of taking input, the things that maybe we didn't see as we're putting together this first proposal. There will be amendments, as the Councilmember said. It's not unusual to do that. And I'll also say that this is my first budget as your city manager. I've learned quite a bit about the city, this community. I've been here for 29 years. And like somebody said, this is not easy. There's many competing interests that we need to balance. We're trying to do the best of that. So thank you for being here.
So as stated, I want to thank you guys all for being here. We're really, truly listening. I took a lot of notes here. What came is to really support and invest in our people. Invest in our people, our communities, our citizens, our workers. What that looks like is transportation. Reliable, adequate transportation, which we fight for across the city, but we definitely fight for here in the North End, my North End colleagues. We fight for a lot here in the North End. We do not have adequate transportation. It looks like arts and community. As a fine arts major myself, I hear you. I absolutely hear you. We are working, we are speaking, talking about that as well. It looks like support for domestic violence, health, youth, and families. We're growing, we see a lot. We're growing here in the North End, and we see a lot of cases of domestic violence moving here into the North End. We need to invest in our services so that doesn't continue to happen. This also looks like wages, supporting our people working for a living wage. Save and live and have your life and take care of your families as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your comments. For those of you who have been here all 3 sessions, thank you very much. I know it's a huge commitment, and it displays to me how important these priorities are for you. Before I forget, there's a couple people that I would like to connect with, because you all provided some potential solutions that I'd like to learn more about. Ian, I think was your name, the lady with the 1,500 signatures. You in the pink, I forgot your name, but you said you wanted to provide your statement because you didn't get finished. Can you please provide that? And then the upzoning guy, I'd love to connect with you all offline, so I'll give you my cards. Definitely, one of the things I would like to add, we don't typically say that we are working on amendments, but because my colleague opened the door, I will say that pretty much everything that we've heard, I know some of us are already working on those, trying to figure out how we can identify funds to make all of that happen. I want to commend the city manager for his recommendation of his first budget season. Commend him and the staff that put everything together for the council to review. I'll also reiterate that the council has not spoken yet. We saw the budget when you all saw it, so ultimately now it's our job to take your recommendations forward and figure out how we can best serve the people whose taxpayer money we are actually spending. Definitely I want to also uplift all of the city employees, Local 500, as well as all city employees, because we know you all are the heartbeat of the city, and without all of you, just, to uplift that in order for Kansas City to thrive, to grow and thrive, we know that we need safe neighborhoods. Everybody wants to feel safe. We need the public transit. We need jobs, high-paying, quality jobs, so that people can afford to support their families. We hear you loud and clear. Thank you.
See, I'm not usually the rule breaker, but once you break the rules and open up the things, just opens it up. Before I hand the microphone over here to Councilman Rogers, I also wanted to thank Emma McDonald. She is our 6th District intern, and she is also here today. Our legislative assistants in the 6th District have been taking notes, and we share the testimony. They are back there somewhere writing down everyone's testimony. And so after every public budget meeting, I share it with all of our colleagues. So even though they're not here, we're getting that testimony to them. So I just wanted to make sure that is understood.
I don't have much to add besides what's been said. I'll just say that seeing a big crowd like this every single time is really special. Thank you all for being here. And we are listening to you.
Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. I think the biggest thing I learned, and thank you very much to Local 500 for coming and sharing your perspective and your story. A lot of times, it's hard for us to know the ins and outs of what's happening in departments and among staff members. We get a little bit of that information, and I can say that all of us act on information that we get. And so having that information from you today has been extremely helpful for me, and I can say for the rest of my colleagues as we make decisions about the budget. So I can't thank you enough for being here and going out on a limb and being transparent about your perspective of what's happening with your jobs, because you're right.
We're looking at $42,852,378 that needs to be added to a budget that already has a deficit. So we're going to have to make some tough choices. But thank you all for showing up and speaking out. Advocacy matters, this matters. Thank you.
I believe that concludes our third public Oh, yes. City manager has something to say.
Thank you. I apologize for jumping up at the last second here, but I do want to acknowledge our Office of Language Access and the two interpreters that are here. The provide is accessible to all, so please acknowledge them and thank you.